Welcome to Creating Calm Parenting with Mind, Body, and Spirit. I'm Corinne Cayce, your co-host. I'm an integral life coach, a mother of two, and a lifelong student of the Edgar Cayce readings. And I'm here with my friend, Arlene. Hi, Arlene.
Hi, Corinne. It's Dr. Arlene Dijamco. I'm an integrative physician, a pediatrician, and a cranial osteopath, and a mom of four. And I am so happy and honored to be here with you, Corinne, and all of you here today. We have an amazing episode for you. We are, first of all, hoping for peace, love, and joy for all of you and heaps of blessings for the new year. And we realize that even this early on in 2025, there are many things going on. And so we wanted to talk about this, how to meet chaos and despair despite the situation. And we're going to look at the Edgar Cayce readings for guidance so that we have these guiding lights even in these times of darkness. So no matter where you are, what your situation is, these are useful guiding lights for us. And we're going to talk about it in a very practical way at first to have some things that you can quickly implement into your life. And then we're going to continue the conversation into the deeper philosophy and esoteric as well, because there's so much richness in the Edgar Cayce readings. So as we get into that, Corinne is going to set the foundation for us with her opening meditation.
Yes, thank you, Arlene. So let's just take a moment to breathe together. If you can close your eyes, feel free to. If not, just let your attention turn inward. And let's just take 3 deep cleansing breaths together, in through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. All right, thank you. So we'll frame our conversation today in the way that we always do, with some excerpts from the Edgar Cayce readings to help us talk about how to meet any chaos and despair that so many of us are feeling around us now, with the guidance from the readings. And this first excerpt, actually, both of these excerpts come from the 254 series of the Edgar Cayce readings, which are called the work readings, which is basically like how to bring the work, the readings, to life in the world today. So it's pretty relevant for this conversation. So the first excerpt is from 254-87, and it says, "Here a little, there a little, line upon line, precept upon precept. It is the only way. Let us not worry about what others are doing apparently in opposition to our purpose, but let us look rather to what we ourselves are doing in relation to our purpose. If we fulfill our purpose to the best of our ability, then others seeing will take hope also." So that's the first one. And the second is, let the idea grow in individuals. Let the idea grow that individuals are each to work where they are, in that environment where they are, for there the first step is to be taken. And that's from 254-110. Okay, so as Arlene mentioned, we wanted to start our conversation with just some really practical, hands-on tools that we can be using as we are, uh, whether we're sort of mentally and emotionally holding the despair and chaos and disruption that we can feel happening in our country or around the world in different places, that at times can feel overwhelming and suffocating and almost paralyzing in terms of how to help or what to do. And then so many of us are actively in survival mode in lots of ways, dealing with this despair and chaos as it manifests in our lives, physically through things that are happening, or mentally and emotionally feeling a lot of anxiety, depression, like just not feeling well. So we want to move into, sort of move toward the spiritual place and the esoteric, like big picture of what's going on, but start with really like, okay, when things feel really tough and really overwhelming, how can we find our ground, both ourselves as individuals and within our families, to help us feel some sense of agency and empowerment and hopefulness, and that we have some uh, ability to care for ourselves and our loved ones in a way that helps bring us toward wholeness and meaning and happiness. So let's start off with this, shall we, Arlene?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
and I love those 2 excerpts that you read, which really bring us to the step by step, the moment by moment, and it helps to ground us because we start to look at not what we can't do and what other people are doing or what other people are doing wrong or not helping, but at looking within ourselves what we can do and to ground in that so that we can be this light for ourselves and
Mm,
then bring hope for others as well.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of times when we start to feel overwhelmed or that there's a lot going on, we go to needing to take some, like, feeling sort of desperate to take some big action to be of help and to ease suffering in some way or to stop something from happening. And that can feel paralyzing in terms of what we actually can do. Sometimes we can do something bold and courageous to, but lots of times we are limited in what's going on, and uh, that can help us feel hopeless and uh, even more despair of kind of like, this problem is just too big and too much for me to take on, so I might as well just sort of toss my hands in the air and or turn a blind eye or feel a lot of anger and resentment, all of which, are natural. And then there comes a point that I think these reading excerpts are pointing us to, which is, it is the little actions that we take, the little choices that we make moment by moment, day by day, that can lead to, that can be this little ripple that brings about a lot of change in the bigger picture over time, which can be hard to tell, but really having faith in that. And yeah, so the first tool that we wanted to share and talk about is just really something to create space. And this can seem super simple, but it relates really profoundly, I think, to some core ideas in the readings that I'd love to talk about as well. And so what we're suggesting as a practice to take on during this time is just, whenever anything happens where you can feel yourself getting a little bit reactive, a little bit triggered, where you can feel your mind start to speed up. Maybe you can feel your body start to shut down. You can go into fix it mode or resist or retaliate or something like that. As soon as you feel that somatic experience happening within you or in your mind, we're going to we're going to suggest pausing. Just stop the mental thoughts, stop any action from taking. Just let there be some space that arises for 10 seconds. This is just practicing a mindful pause. Yeah. So even
Mhm.
retroactively, even if you have gotten really far down the line of getting spun out about something, as soon as you notice that it's happening, create some space for yourself. Take 10 seconds and just breathe. This is a real practice of lack of resistance. There's a body of work in the Edgar Cayce readings that we have a group at the A.R.E, a world peace group that's been meeting for 2 years now, where we're studying the material and the readings in peace. And one of the main things that I'm learning through this group is the importance of a lack of resistance to what is, which is not at all being a doormat to any situation, but it's not retaliating against circumstances or emotions that are there. And making another choice. In the Edgar Cayce readings, they talk about it as ameliorating, or doing that, offering that which can be helpful. But before we can even offer help or know what help looks like or know how to respond in a meaningful way, in order to access that within ourselves, we need to slow down, and we need for there to be space for that to arise within us. Because how to meet whatever is arising in our life with kindness, generosity, compassion, to be helpful in some way, that truth lives within us. It will look different for each of us in many different ways, but it's already living within us. We don't need to seek something external to ourselves, but we do need to create the conditions for that knowledge to, that awareness to arise within us. And so often in the Edgar Cayce readings, I see slow down, go slow, hurry in the universal sort of ultimate truth way to do as much as you can, but move slow in a physical way to allow your body to be in a place to respond uh, from its most resource place.
And that makes sense in terms of physiological responses too,
Yeah,
because if we're triggered, then the signals go to this fire alarm in our brain, the amygdala, and it will activate these subconscious responses. So it will activate that fight or flight response.
yeah,
If we consciously pause then and move through that pause with our breathing, then we can give a chance for our higher awareness centers to come back online. And it can be difficult sometimes, but just that active pause can help you regain this higher awareness. And then you can choose to look through the lens of love and kindness, look through the lens of the creative forces, the stillness, and respond from that lens of love and kindness and compassion rather than the fear that will be subconsciously triggered.
yeah,
And, um, and yeah, so it gives you that 10 seconds can just help you feel your body, help you breathe through so that you can regain your conscious awareness. And then you have some choices versus like just spinning into this instinctive response that might be running subconscious stress trauma patterns.
yeah.
So a simple thing to do, but so worthwhile.
Yes, absolutely. So that's our first offering. The second thing that we wanted to talk about that I have been using so much in my life right now with my children is the use of pre-sleep suggestions or sort of affirmations that are offered in the hypnagogic state as we're falling asleep that we can say to our children or with our children. We can also just say them, write them down, and say them for ourselves as well. So the Edgar Cayce readings talk a lot about, especially as a parenting tool, this is one of the most powerful tools that we have in helping our children deal with uh, challenging emotions and wanting to change behaviors and trying to work with whatever they may be struggling with in their lives. Uh, Being with our children as they are falling asleep when the conscious mind is slipping in toward the unconscious and subconscious, being able to relate to them in that place when they're sort of their conscious mind is quiet or more they're closer to their own soul, to their intention for being on this earth and why they're here. And there can be really clear positive affirmations and invitations to our children to relate to what's arising in their lives in ways that will be bring about confidence and ease and health for them, for themselves. And this is a real mental health and uh, mental health tool that I think is underutilized in our world right now, that the readings are so clear, can be so helpful. So the way that and we have done a whole podcast episode on pre-sleep suggestion, and I would really encourage you to go back and access that if you'd like some more details of like how to walk through pre-sleep suggestions and lots of examples from the Edgar Cayce readings on how it's been effective and how to work with it and why and when. Here we just want to really highlight it as a tool that you can start using tonight with yourself and with your family members, especially with the little ones in your life as you're working with anything that's hard in their lives. So what I'm working with both of my children are working with hard, scary things in their own lives. Like not only what's on the news, but much more real for them is the scary things that they're doing and that they're experiencing in their lives. And as a parent, I think we can often feel helpless, feeling like we need to seek expert guidance, which sometimes we very well do outside of the home to help them. And this is something that we can really use with our kids as they're falling asleep. So I move between my kids' bedrooms based on the different amount of time, and I shape the affirmation. I let what I'm saying to them arise a little bit intuitively as the day has unfolded in whatever way it has. But the two things I'm using now, one of which we talked about in the earlier pre-sleep suggestion episode, which is inviting your child to let go of any fear that's around them. So all manner and form of fear will leave your body. Will is a direct instruction to the body and mind to do something. So focusing on the positive and staying it in the positive. And then I say their name. So all manner and form of fear will leave your body. And then inviting in the positive qualities that I hope for them to be feeling in their waking life and in their life. So peace or joy, happiness, confidence, ease, gentleness, all of these, whatever is alive, inviting that in, saying it surrounds you and it is within you. And then the next thing I do comes from another affirmation that was given during the prayer group, to the glad helpers, of a group of students of the Edgar Cayce readings who are working with healing and prayer in their lives. And this is based off of that, an affirmation given for that group that says, arising within you are all the qualities of Christ consciousness that you need to meet each circumstance in your life. And then I add in with confidence, ease, clarity, and love. So Christ consciousness is a, you know, very familiar term if you're familiar with the Edgar Cayce readings. If you're not, then there can be any qualities that are resonate with you and with your child that you're wanting to awaken in them to meet whatever circumstances they're facing in their lives. Courage and kindness and love. And I see over a couple of nights of doing this consistently, a softening and gentling in their behavior, in their ease with which they meet difficult things, and their level of anxiety. And I am just one case of many, many, many that I've heard and read about where this has been such an effective way of supporting and guiding our children.
And parents, you can do this for yourself too. I've been sharing these ideas of pre-sleep suggestions with physician and osteopathic groups, and having them record their own and saying their own name. And it's very interesting to hear like how people's nights shifts and how the next day shifts. So if there's something that's troubling you, that you're able to sleep soundly and something processes during that nighttime rejuvenation, resetting, detoxification, which includes like the mental, emotional sphere. So that when you wake up, there's something like Corinne was saying, there's the softening. And so you're able to meet these difficult life circumstances with more ease, clarity, and love. And it's a simple thing and very beautiful. So those examples that Corinne gave and the ones that we had used and the group I was working with, they were very short, just a couple minutes. So
Mhm.
it doesn't have to take long. And
No.
you could use the ones that Corinne read here and write them down for yourselves, and then use your voice to record on your phone or whatever device and say your name or read them out loud to your children, and you all get to benefit from it. Another simple thing that helps to reset your compass and your frequency so that you're attuned during the night, and then when you wake up, you wake more refreshed, even when you're going through a lot, even when you're doing a lot of things and having to address so much in the world.
Absolutely. Okay. So Arlene, why don't you introduce our next will here?
So our next, suggestion here We have covered creating space for peace, the pre-sleep suggestions, and now we're also going to recommend castor oil because from the Cayce readings, this is a true Cayce remedy. And I think if anyone is familiar with the Cayce readings, that you are somewhat familiar with castor oil. And this can be used topically anywhere there is tension or dis-ease. It has these vibrational properties to relieve stuckness on various dimensions, and that includes the physical as well as the mental emotional.
Mhm.
So you can use your physical body as clues to where any tension is, any dis-ease is. So people will hold on to their stress in various areas of the body, your shoulders, your chest, your abdomen, nervous indigestion. So you can make a pack with the wool flannel or cotton flannel, 3 to 4 layers, or you could even just take a little bit and place it on the area. If you don't have a pack, don't let the process of it get in the way, like all the details. Just take some drops, and some people will just put it in their belly button to have that vibration reach the whole abdominal area. I've had a friend just putting it on their wrist to be a little reminder as you move through the day and using your hands and things that you're doing, that it reminds you to be to be harmonious and to be attuned with the creative forces, because it helps alleviate stuckness. So just like an oil would in gears, but imagine if you had gears in the emotional body, the mental body, so it can help ease stuckness in those areas as well. You could use it going to sleep, just putting a pack on your belly. This could be with or without heat. So there's a lot of variation in how it can be used. I have friends that use it like as a facial mask, and to be able to wake up and feel refreshed and have that the expression of yourself feel rejuvenated.
Mhm.
So there are infinite ways to use castor oil, and the stories that come with it are really amazing. But
Yes.
to keep it really simple for yourself that you so that you can implement it.
Absolutely. All that you need is to have some castor oil on hand. And we have another podcast episode. If you're wanting a little bit more of a deep dive into castor oil, we have a whole episode dedicated to that as well. I will tell you that we're, buried in a fair bit of ice and snow here and have been for a while where I live. And my son came home from the first morning of sledding, clutching his hand in tears. And his hand was really hurting him, and he'd had a sledding snafu. And I felt, as I was describing earlier, where your body kind of gets triggered and goes into protective mode. What shall I do? What something is happening that's really bad, and I need to figure out logistically all of the things to provide care for him. And the first thing that I did was, oh, we're gonna wrap it up with castor oil. And he, being my son, is not resistant to this at all anymore. And so, like, the first thing that I did, and I think this is part of why we're offering these now in this state of overwhelm, like being aware that I was going to need to make a lot of decisions and try and figure out how to take care of this little one who's so precious to me. And yet, before I do all of that, I can just do this simple thing that's right at hand that I know can only be of help, which is to wrap it up with castor oil and have him, so that I create some time for myself to see, is this getting better? Do we need to seek care in the snow and figure all of that out? And he did break some fingers in his hand, and I do feel like when I was looking at the X-rays and seeing how perfectly aligned those little bones were and ready to begin healing, like feeling extra thankful that I'd wrapped them up for those hours while we were getting him where he needed to be and taking care of him with the castor oil, of just helping that movement, that not stuckness and alignment and flow coming in, and healing him up. So, just as a last week example of, and putting my daughter still to bed with, if she doesn't want to do the castor oil pack, if that's too much, just rubbing a little bit on her abdomen, like Arlene was saying, right around her belly button to just help with anxiety and indigestion, any indigestion or belly discomfort, to just help that flow continue to happen. I mean, these are just such simple and helpful in terms of you can see the change happen, and not only in your own sense of peace and well-being, but also in the on the receiving end, the kids on the receiving end of it, of like, oh, I'm okay, I can handle this even if I am in a lot of discomfort, and even if things are really hard, that doesn't mean that I'm not okay or it's not going to be okay, and we can do hard things, which is
Mhm.
for that's the definition of resiliency, I think, which is something we're always trying to work with as parents. So castor oil is
Mhm.
just such a gift to us
Yeah.
in many ways. Yeah,
And you can also run it down your spine if you would like to, like, coordinate the nervous systems. It's
yeah,
just it's another way to help, reset the whole nervous system, or as an assist, and you could combine that with anything else that we've mentioned already, like the pre-sleep suggestions. Doing that right before sleep can be helpful with the
yeah,
castor oil down the spine or on the belly.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So these are some super tangible, practical, physical things that we can do in our life when we are feeling the chaos and despair and all of the emotional states that follow that. And as we're looking for ways to be helpful, to be of service, and to take action in our lives that leads towards happiness and health. So, the sort of at the background of these very practical, and this is just a small smattering of really tangible things that we can do. There's so many tools in the Edgar Cayce readings for how to really, I think what the quotes were at the beginning of this episode were beginning to talk about around moment by moment, little by little, how can I live into the person who I want to be in a way that allows for this world to be a better place, is the path that we're on. Yeah. So,
So, as we go into the philosophy and the concepts behind all of these readings, and these lights that we're creating for ourselves in the darkness, they're really grounded in the fruits of the spirit. And so this is a beautiful line from 261-15. It says, "Be true to self, making for those activities that bear the fruits of the Spirit. Just being kind, just being gentle, just being patient, just showing fellowship, just showing brotherly love, just bearing witness in thy walks, thy acts, thy understandings unto thy fellow man." So for me, this is, those just being kind, just being gentle, these are the fruits of the Spirit, and they are our guiding lights, but they are what we can be, so we can be those lights in any darkness, in this step by step, moment by moment, breath by breath way, because when it's difficult, that's all we really have. It really helps us to ground and focus on what is right here now, and what is most important. And it's so much, like, with all the stories and so many people that have lost so much, but it really makes us ground into ourselves and focus on what is most important. And it's these fruits of the Spirit that can nourish us individually and then have this ripple effect around us, because we are all really connected. So, lending a hand however we can, whether in thought and in action, it's being first, realizing that your whatever you choose in this moment can help you and gives hope to people around you. There's this other excerpt from 2794-3, and it says, "For you are as a corpuscle, like a cell, in the body of God, thus a co-creator with him in what you think and what you do. And you change each soul you contact, literally or mentally. So no soul may come in contact with the entity with another soul without being changed, either in body, in mind, or in purpose." And that to me is so beautiful because it exemplifies like how we are all connected. We are really one ginormous spirit and that we're all a part of. So there's nothing that we can think or say or do, our thoughts or actions that doesn't affect another. And approaching in that way of the just be kind, just be gentle, just witness in this loving, non-judgmental way of and see what we can do to help and support each other in these difficult times. And those are the fruits that can blossom out of the darkness. And
Mhm.
so see this emerging light even in any darkness because, it makes strangers hug, it makes people connect. I mean, thinking about the stories coming from California and the wildfires, of people meeting in the store because they had to buy some basic goods, because they had lost everything, and so strangers, hugging and strangers, like, giving out things, and, to see that kind of love emanate out of chaos, out of despair,
Mhm.
and so there's some sort of beauty even in these chaotic times that it reminds us of who we really are, and we are always these lights if we choose to be, if we choose to see ourselves as that, and that one little interaction with another person can give so much hope, so much inspiration. You never really know how much it means to another person.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you so much, Arlene. That's such a beautiful articulation of where we're hoping to land with all of this. And so hopefully from this conversation, you have both some like highly practical things that you can remember to do around taking the pause, taking the 10 seconds to just breathe and land so that you can be able to meet someone's eyes with a openness that allows something to emerge that Arlene was talking about, love, and so that finding that, giving yourself the 10-second breath and working with pre-sleep suggestion with yourself, with your family members, writing down an affirmation just can just be 2 sentences, something to claim there, and integrating castor oil, buying the castor oil and putting it on the shelf. They'll make so much easier, or taking the top off it so that you use it more easily to help yourselves. And then really relating to those, that larger view of what it is that's happening here, and how much power we actually have to bring goodness into the world in ways that we can't even imagine, that can start from the smallest interaction that we have, that opens opportunities for things that we can't even imagine to emerge. So we send you all just the very best wishes as we start off this new year, and we're really looking forward. We have some exciting things planned to begin to bring to life in this Creating Calm community, and we can't wait to share it with you all. So thank you all so much for being with us today, and thank you so much, Arlene, as always.
Thank you, Corinne, and thank you everyone for being here. We look forward to sitting with you again next time.